data manipulation using Oracle GoldenGate, and parallel replicate we'll discuss. So first let us discuss about parallel replicate, and then we'll move to the exercise which we were discussing in the previous session. So parallel replicate is one of the new features introduced in Oracle GoldenGate 12CR3. So Oracle GoldenGate parallel replicate has been introduced from GoldenGate version 12.3.0.1. So with GoldenGate performance, so GoldenGate performance is basically dependent on type of extract and replicate you are using. So with the introduction of integrated extract and integrated replicate, the performance of GoldenGate was introduced significantly. Now with the introduction of parallel replicate, which is one of the new feature of Oracle GoldenGate, the performance of Oracle GoldenGate has now gone to the next level. So parallel replicate is one of the new feature. It is one of the replicate of Oracle GoldenGate environment. Now, parallel replicate is highly scalable apply engine for the Oracle database that can automatically parallelize the apply workload and take dependencies between transaction into account. So what it does is in parallel replicate, your multiple mappers and appliers run. So what do we mean by mappers and applier? So if you look at the replicate, view param REPINT01. So what happens in this replicate, you see you give map. What does map do? It reads the data from the local trail and this applies the data to the target table. So this part is done by mapper, reading the data from the remote trail and writing data to the target database or applying data to the target database is done by the applier. So mapper and applier does the task for you. Now in GoldenGate parallel replicate, what happens is you can run multiple mappers. So multiple mappers means they will read the data from the remote trail. Similarly, multiple appliers are going to apply the data to the target database. Okay, so this is what parallel replicate does. So you can run multiple mappers and appliers. So one of the major question with parallel replicate which we receive is what happens for the long running transaction. So what parallel replicate does is it automatically parallelize the apply workload and take dependencies between transactions into account. So whatever dependencies are there, those are taken into account and there is no loss of data, or the data which gets applied, all the dependencies are taken care. So parallel replicate provides all the benefits of integrated replicate by performing the dependency computation and parallelism outside of the database. So parallel replicate has all the benefits of the integrated replicate. It parallelizes the reading and mapping of the trail file, which is done by mapper, and provides the ability to apply large transaction quickly, which is done by applier. Dependency computation, parallelism of the mapping and applier performed outside of the database and can be offloaded to another server. The transaction integrity is maintained in this process. So this is really very important point. With parallel replicate, the transaction integrity is taken into account. Now there are two types of replicates. One is parallel so basically there are different types of replicate. One is integrated and another one is non-integrated or classic. So those run in non-parallel mode. Now you can run them in parallel mode. So integrated mode running in parallel mode is called as parallel integrated mode. So parallel integrated replicate is the one which what is parallel integrated replicate? Integrated replicate running in parallel mode is called as parallel integrated replicate. What is parallel non-integrated replicate? This is non-integrated replicate running in parallel mode. Now to use the parallel replicate, your GoldenGate version has to be minimum 12.3. Along with that, if you want to use parallel integrated or parallel non-integrated replicate, for using parallel integrated replicate, the minimum database version should be 12.2. Similarly, for non-integrated replicate, for using parallel non-integrated replicate, the minimum database version has to be 12.1. So if you are using any database, if say for example your database version is 11.2.04, can you use parallel replicate? No. For using parallel Replicat, the minimum database version has to be 12.1. You cannot use parallel Replicat on the database version less than 12.1. But remember, for 12.1, you can use parallel non-integrated replicate. You cannot use parallel non-integrated replicate. For database version 12.2, you can use parallel integrated replicate. However, the GoldenGate version has to be 12.3 in any case. If your GoldenGate version is less than 12.3, you cannot use parallel replicate at all. Okay, so the combination is, for using parallel integrated replicate, the minimum database version has to be 12.3 and database has to be 12.2. For using parallel non-integrated replicate, the database version minimum has to be 12.1 and GoldenGate version has to be 12.3 minimum. Now the thing is, remember one thing, this parallel replicate feature is only available for Oracle database. I think in 21C, I'll have to recheck, but I remember there is a feature. I think parallel replicate feature now has been extended to non-Oracle databases as well. I'll have to check, but I remember this is one of the new feature that parallel replicate support has now been included for SQL Server, Postgres, DB2, MySQL and SQL Server database as well. But that point I'll have to recheck. I can confirm later on. But until 19C, GoldenGate 19C, only parallel replicate was available until Oracle data was available only for Oracle database. Okay, so let us configure parallel replicate. How do we configure it? And then another point what we are going to do is we will see how to upgrade existing replicate to the parallel replicate. We will see that as well. Okay, so we are going to two tasks. We are going to create the parallel replicate, and second thing is how we are going to upgrade existing replicate to the parallel replicate. So you see this is REP-INT01 which is running. Now there is no direct way we can upgrade this existing replicate to parallel replicate. There is no direct way. You will have to create the new replicate for it. Now remember one thing, for parallel, so can anyone tell me how many characters you can provide maximum for a GoldenGate process? So when you are creating extract, pump or replicate, maximum how many characters you can provide for a GoldenGate process? Does anyone
Eight,
remember?
Eight, eight.
eight characters.
Eight.
It
No, we are not talking about trail file shaker. We are talking about name of the process. So name of
true.
the
Eight.
process maximum can be 8. Correct. Okay, so maximum number of the name, the characters you can provide in the name of the process is 8 characters, right? But in parallel replicate, you can, the maximum characters you can provide is 5. The name of the parallel replicate cannot exceed 5 characters, equal to or less than 5 characters. Now the question comes, why? So as I told you, GoldenGate parallel replicate has got mappers and appliers, right? Now what happens is, you say for example you create the process with the name PAREP. This is the parallel replicate you are creating. For example, PARE means parallel replicate. Suppose you created it with, this is a parallel replicate you have created. Now what happens internally is, as I mentioned, you can define number of mappers you want to run and number of appliers you want to run. So suppose you decided you want to run 4 mappers and 4 appliers. Suppose. So what happens is, internally GoldenGate, you created the process PREP, right? But this process get spawned into multiple processes. So this is one process you create, but parallelly internally it creates or get spawned into multiple processes. So basically internally what happens is, it creates like PAREP M00, PAREP M01, PAREP M02, PAREP M03. Similarly, PAREP A00,
Oh, see your entire screen.
PAREP A01. PAREP
We are able to listen
A02.
him, but no screen.
PAREP A03. So these are the processes which internally gets created. Now, what is this M and A? So M stands for mapper and A stands for applier. So what happens is, depending upon number of appliers and mappers you have provided or are running, one GoldenGate parallel Replicat process gets spawned into multiple processes. So what happens is, M stands for mapper, as I mentioned, and A stands for applier. So because we have given that 4 mappers and 4 appliers should run for this PAREP. So what happens is, M00 means first mapper, M01 means second mapper, M02 means third mapper, M03 means fourth mapper. Similarly, this is first applier for PREP, this is second applier for PREP, this is third applier for PREP, and so on. So you can only provide maximum 5 characters for a parallel replicate. But internally it gets spawned into number of multiple processes based on mappers and appliers being running or defined in the parameter file. So first mapper which runs is M00 and applier which runs is A00. So GoldenGate processes in parallel replicate get spawned into multiple processes. Now let us first of all create a parallel replicate. Now our task is create a parallel replicate, and second task is upgrade existing integrated replicate or any other replicate, whether you're using classic replicate or non-integrated, upgrade existing integrated replicate to parallel non-integrated replicate. Okay, so for today's exercise we are following, go to module 7. Module 7 is data transformation and parallel replicate. So in this we are going to follow activity guide 22 first of all for the parallel replicate. Okay, so first of all we will add the parallel replicate. So to add the parallel replicate we'll use the command. So we want to use the existing location from where your integrated REPINT01 is reading from, right? So stop REPINT01, stop your REPINT01. Once it is stopped, then add replicate name PAREP, for example. As I mentioned, you can give maximum 5 characters, but prior to that we need to do DB login as well. Whenever you are creating a process you need to do DB login when you are creating extract or replicate. So do info credential store. So do DB login user ID alias source gg2 underscore pdb2. Okay, so you have now done the DB login. Now do add parallel replicate, sorry, add replicate name. Now we want to use the same, upgrade the existing replicate to parallel replicate, right? So what you are going to do is you are going to provide the same location from where your existing replicate is reading the data from. So your existing replicate is reading the data from this location, data app Oracle product OGG TRG dir dat slash RT location. So add replicate PAREP, we need to give copy, add replicate PAREP parallel and give the location from where it is going to read the data from. Okay, add replicate name parallel, we need to give exe trail keyword as well, exe trail. Okay, parallel ext trail. So when we add the replicate, when we use, so if we have to use, say for example, non-integrated replicate. So the syntax to add the non-integrated replicate is add replicate name, exe trail, and location of remote trail where data pump is writing data to, right? Data pump from source. Similarly, when you have to create an integrated replicate, the syntax is add replicate name, integrated. So just when you use the keyword integrated, in that case it becomes integrated replicate. Similarly, when you have to create parallel non-integrated replicate, the syntax is add replicate name, parallel exe trail, parallel exe trail. So this is the syntax. And when you have to create parallel integrated replicate, in that case the syntax is use parallel integrated. So just before exe trail, whatever you provide based on that type of replicate it creates. So by default it creates, if you don't give anything, it creates non-integrated replicate. Similarly, when you give integrated keyword, it creates integrated replicate. Similarly, when you give parallel only, in that case it creates parallel non-integrated replicate. And when you give parallel integrated, in that case it creates parallel integrated replicate. Okay, now once you have done that, after this, another important thing I want to tell you, that the difference between these replicates is the non-integrated replicate uses a checkpoint table, Similarly, parallel non-integrated replicate also uses a checkpoint table. But for integrated and parallel integrated replicate, checkpoint table is not mandatory. Checkpoint table is not mandatory for integrated and parallel integrated replicate. Now the question comes, what is checkpoint table? So you must have heard about checkpoint files, or we discussed about checkpoint files. Does anyone remember what are checkpoint files, and where do they reside? Can anyone tell me what is checkpoint table, what is checkpoint files, and where do they reside? DIRCHK, absolutely. So each process in GoldenGate has a checkpoint file associated to it, like replicate and extract and pump process. Each process in GoldenGate has a checkpoint file associated to it, and the checkpoint file resides inside DIRCHK directory, right? Now you have got another thing in GoldenGate which is called as checkpoint table. Now remember, each process in GoldenGate has a checkpoint file associated to it, and it resides inside DIRCHK. So basically the checkpoint file is used by or created for each and every process, and it resides at operating system OS level. Now checkpoint table, what we are discussing right now, resides at the database level. It is part of the database, and it is only used by replicate and integrated and non-integrated and parallel non-integrated replicate only. Okay, integrated and parallel integrated replicate doesn't use checkpoint table. Now checkpoint table is kind of a auditing table which resides in the database, and it is used by the replicate process. So how do we create or add the checkpoint table? So what you have to do is, if you are using, because we are going to create parallel non-integrated replicate, hence we need to create a checkpoint table first of all. Now By default, the checkpoint table does not exist, so you need to add the or create the checkpoint table. Now to create the checkpoint table, you will need to log into the database and then execute the command add checkpoint table, and you can give any name to this checkpoint table. You can give any name to this checkpoint table. So the name I'm going to give, it's going to reside under source gg2.chkpttbl. So we are going to add the checkpoint table under the user source gg2 with the name chkpttbl. It says successfully created checkpoint table. So now let us go to the database. So if you do select star from tab, you will see that checkpoint table has been created just now. So if you describe this table, so you see you have got some columns like group name, group key, sequence number, RBA, audit timestamp. So this is kind of a auditing table to keep track of what all data has been applied and what all sequences has been read, or what is the RBA of the trail file which has been read. So all those information gets recorded into the checkpoint table. So this checkpoint table you can consider is kind of a auditing table. Now remember one thing, I again repeat, checkpoint table is only used by the Replicat. It is part of the database. It gets created in the database. This is what we have done. Now because we are going to create non-parallel integrated Replicat, hence we need to use checkpoint table. Now once it is done, we'll add the parallel Replicat. Add Replicat PAREP. Now because it is parallel non-integrated Replicate, we'll just use PAREP. Sorry, parallel ext trail and the location of ext trail from where it will read the data from. And then you give checkpoint table c source gg2 dot source gg2 dot chkpttbl. Enter. So you see it says parallel Replicat added. So we have added the Replicat, parallel non-integrated Replicat, which is going to read the data from the same location from where your integrated Replicat was reading the data from. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to upgrade the so we have to upgrade the existing Replicat to the parallel Replicat, right? So how do we do it? we we will start. So what happens is when you create the new process, like we have created PAREP, by default it reads from the sequence 0 trail file and RBA 0. What we have to do is info REP int 01. So the thing is REP int 01 has already processed 7 trail file, sequence number 7 trail file until this RBA. So what we have to do is what we will do is we will alter this PAREP process to read from this sequence and this particular RBA, so that parallel Replicate starts from the same point where REP int01 has stopped processing the data from. So there will be zero data loss. Okay. So how do we alter the process? Alter PAREP EXT it means sequence number 7, because it is RT007, so it will read from sequence number 7, and EXT RBA 2595. So what will happen now is your PAREP will now read the data from the same location from where REP INT01 has processed data until up to. So now until this sequence and RBA. REPINT01 did the task. From going forward, PAREP will do the task for you. So your existing Replicat has been upgraded to parallel non-integrated Replicat. Okay. So now, can I go ahead and start the parallel Replicat PAREP? What do you think? Can I go ahead and start?
No,
Why?
we have to edit the parameter file.
Exactly. Each process in GoldenGate should be should have the parameter file associated to it. So we haven't created the parameter file, hence we need to do that. View param REPINT01. So I'll copy these user ID part. Okay. Edit param PAREP. Okay. So process type is Replicat and name is PAREP. And user ID alias we will give. Then we will give map underscore parallelism. Say for example, give S4. Apply underscore parallelism. Say for example, we give 6. So what happens is map underscore parallelism 4 means 4 mappers will run. Apply underscore parallelism 6 means 6 appliers will run. So it's not like you have to give same number of mappers and same number of appliers. You can have different number of mappers and different number of appliers being provided or running in the replicate side. Now the thing is, when you give map parallelism like this, 4 and 6, apply parallelism as 6. So what does it mean? That minimum number of app means even though the load on the server is not that high, still 4 mappers will continue to run. Same way, apply underscore parallelism 6 means even though there might be less load on the system and even one applier will do the same task as 6, but still because we have provided 6 apply parallelism, it will continue to run 6 appliers. So this is waste of resource. So in GoldenGate you have got another parameter which is called as min apply parallelism and max apply parallelism. Okay, so say for example you give min apply parallelism as 2 and max apply parallelism as 10. So what happens is the appliers will range between 2 and 10. So depending on the need, those many appliers would run. So minimum 2 appliers would always run and maximum 10 apply. It would go up to 10 appliers. But based on the load, it can increase or decrease up number of appliers which it needs to run. However, remember one thing, you can either use apply underscore parallelism or you can use min or max apply parallelism. Okay, so the difference between the two is if you use this apply parallelism, always 6 appliers will run, even though the requirement might be less. But with this parameter, min and max, apply parallelism, the advantage is depending on the load on the system, it will change itself. So I can make it 6 and I'll comment
Ashish,
this.
replace the last line. There's a plus sign there.
So you can use either apply parallelism or min apply and max apply parallelism. Okay, and then we will give map statement view param REPINT01. So this performance of integrated or the performance of parallel integrated or parallel non-integrated replicate, the performance is almost 5 times faster. Okay, so we have created the parallel replicate. So we did 2 tasks right now. First we learned about parallel replicate. What is parallel replicate? Second thing is we created the parallel replicate. And third is we learned how to upgrade existing Replicat to the parallel Replicat. Okay. So do view param PREP, verify, all looks good. Now we will start PREP. So another thing what we learned is how to upgrade existing REP INT01 integrated Replicat to parallel non-integrated Replicat. So what we did, we noted down until what point REP INT01 has read the data from, and then we started the parallel Replicat which we created from the same point onwards. Info all. Now we'll start PREP. View report PREP. Okay. Now if you see here in the report file, do you see it says spawned applier with PID. So there are 4 applier processes running and there are 4 mappers which are running. 4 mappers and 4 appliers, you see, they are running. Because we give 4 and 6. So instead of starting 6, it started 4 appliers or mappers as of now. So do info all. So your PREP is running now. So now what we can do, we can do some transaction on source. You will see that data will be replicated. I'll do insert into DPT11 values. I'll insert 80 sales Canada committed. So now you will see, let us verify if all the processes are up and running, like pump. Yes, these are running. So go to target side and verify the data in DPT11 table. DPT22. Oh, CONN Training. GG Training 2, sorry. CONN Training 2 / welcome 1 and PDB2. Okay. Now do select star from tab. So we'll do select star from DPT22. So see 80 sales Canada has successfully been replicated. Same data if you see, select star from DPT underscore copy to do. You will see 80 sales and today's date and my country is Canada, etc. has been replicated. Because we used call map in the previous session, right? So PAREP is also able to replicate the data without any concern. But if you compare parallel Replicat with non-parallel Replicat, you will see the difference. There is a lot of performance improvement with the introduction of parallel Replicat. Okay. So any question related to parallel Replicat or how to upgrade existing Replicat to the parallel Replicat? So next we will discuss
Ashish,
about the exercise which we discussed in the last session. But yeah, prior to that, I'll open the forum for question.
Ashish, I have one question. If my replicat is working fine without any latencies and stuff, is it worth upgrading it to parallel? And the
See,
second question is, do we need to increase the memory? on the server,
Okay,
because every process will take memory.
Ab- so both questions are absolutely valid. So the thing is, do we need to upgrade the existing Replicat to parallel Replicat if the lag is not there in the system? I would rather say here is like, means if it depends on production, if it's production or dev. So I'll talk based on considering it's a production. So until and unless you see what is the purpose of parallel Replicat. First of all, the purpose of parallel Replicat is to improve the performance. Now if you are already are getting good performance without using parallel Replicat, then I would say, like, if I were in your place, it's completely personal choice. But again, and until it is getting obsoleted, I would suggest, like, no need to do that, because the main purpose of using the parallel Replicat is to improve the performance. And if your environment is anyway showing good latency, then it's not needed. Right. Now, second thing is, do you need some hardware or database course? Absolutely. Because the reason being, it creates multiple processes and they consume memory. So yes, the answer to the question is yes. Second question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Will there be performance difference if we use parallel integrated Replicat over parallel non-integrated Replicat? Absolutely, there would be. Parallel integrated Replicat is also faster than parallel non-integrated Replicat. When we have parallel Replicat for long-running transaction, is there parallel extract available too? Now, there are only two types of extract. One is classic and second is integrated extract. There is no parallel Replicat. Okay. Okay. So now let us discuss about the exercise which we were discussing in the previous session. So the exercise was, when a record is deleted from the source, it should not be deleted physically from the target database. Only logically it should be deleted. So basically it should be a soft delete. So when a record is deleted from source, delete underscore flag column value on target should be Y. So whenever a record is deleted from source, the delete underscore flag column value on target has to be Y. Right? Which will signify that the row has been deleted from source database. However, when insert and update on source happens, corresponding delete underscore flag row on target should have delete underscore flag as N. Okay. So what we need to do, how we can achieve it. So to achieve this requirement, we are going to follow these parameters. Update deletes, allow dup target map, ignore inserts, ignore updates and ignore deletes. We are going to discuss about that. So what does update deletes do? Update delete converts the source delete statement to update on target side. Okay. Anyone has any idea how we can achieve that requirement? So I again repeat, when you are deleting a row from source, it should not be deleted physically from the target database. Only logically it should be deleted, and basically it should be a soft delete as basically it should be a soft delete. Anyone would like to answer this? So anyone has any idea how can we achieve this requirement? So guys, we have a table dpt underscore copy to, and in that we have a column delete underscore flag, right. So delete underscore flag will signify whether the row is present on source or not. So if delete underscore flag is Y, in that case, it means that row has been deleted from source. But if delete underscore flag is N, it means that row is present on source database. So what we are going to do is, to achieve this requirement, we'll have two separate blocks. One is insert, updates, and no deletes. In this block, delete underscore flag will be N. Right. In second block, it would be no insert, no update, get inserts, oh sorry, get deletes, and then update deletes. And then we give the delete underscore flag equal to Y. This will signify that the row has been deleted from the source database. Okay. Now what does update deletes do is, it converts the delete operation of source to update on target side. So basically physically you are deleting a row from source, but when GoldenGate applies it, it will be deleted. That is not our requirement. Our requirement is delete underscore flag column value should be updated to Y, right? So basically your delete underscore flag column as Y will be the pointer to tell us whether row is present on source or not. Okay. Now, one more thing before I proceed with setting our Replicat process is, by default, the Replicat process reads only first block for the same table. So what will happen in our parameter file now, multiple mappings or more than one mapping of an object will be shown or mentioned. But what happens is, by default, if for the same object you have got two mappings, by default GoldenGate Replicat reads only first mapping. It ignores the second mapping. It ignores the second mapping for the same object. So for that, we have got a parameter called as allow dup target map. Allow dup target map. So as the name suggests, it allows duplicate target mapping of the same object. So first this block is read, and then this block for the same object is read. So allow dup target map. It allowed duplicate target mapping of the same object in parameter file. So as I mentioned to you, by default, the replicate won't append if you don't use this allow dup target map. What happens is, by default, it is going to read only this block. If you want to make your replicate process read the other block as well, then use the parameter allow dup target map, which means that duplicate target mapping of the same object is supported in the replicate parameter file. So let us see how we do it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, we'll stop PAREP because we need to make the changes. View report PRP. It's not stop. I think it will stop in next few minutes. Oh yeah, so you see it is removing because there are multiple processes runs, right? So that's why. Okay, now it is stopped. Now it is stopped successfully. Okay, now edit param PREP. Take the necessary approval. Always, whenever you are working in production environment, always follow the step what we have discussed while stopping the Replicat. So always take the necessary approval. Once the approval is in place, take the backup of the parameter file and then go ahead and stop the process. Now we'll do edit param PREP. So in this file, what will happen? There will be two map statements. So one would be which will be handling insert and update. So get inserts and get updates by default will ignore the deletes here. Right? In this scenario, we will also add delete underscore flag. It's delete underscore flag. Delete underscore flag equal to when ignore it will be n when insert and updates are there, right? Okay. Now the second block would be for ignore inserts, ignore updates, get deletes, and then we are going to convert those deletes into update deletes. Now the thing is, why do we need to use the parameter update deletes? Now suppose you have get deletes. So what will happen? As soon as from source one record comes, it will be deleted from the target database. We don't want to delete them. That's the purpose. If we delete, then our purpose is defeated. What we want is those deletes should get converted to update on target. So delete statement of source should get converted to update on the target side. Delete process of source should get converted to update on the target side. That is the requirement. Okay. And then we will give this map statement. Okay. Now what happens, as I mentioned, is we are providing same table get mapping for dpt underscore copy to twice in the parameter file. So what happens by default is Replicat process reads only first mapping for the object. So that it will read only this particular mapping. This mapping will be ignored by default. So what we want is when insert and update comes, this mapping should be read, and when delete comes, this particular mapping should be mapped. So for that, we have got the parameter allow dup target map. Allow dup target map. So allow dup target map, as the name suggests, it allowed duplicate target mapping of the same object. It allows duplicate target mapping of the same object. So as I mentioned, why do we need this parameter? I again repeat is because by default it reads only first map statement. However, in this case, it will read both when we give allow dup target map. Okay, so we'll save it and close it. Now we will start PREP info all. So once this time change checkpoint is less than 10 seconds, we can confirm that it is running. Yeah, it is running. Okay. Now we'll do one transaction on source. So this exercise, what we are discussing, we discussed, or we mentioned it in the previous session, and we are continuing this exercise in this particular session, right? So now I'll do insert. I'll do one insert first. Insert into DPT11 values. I'll insert 81 sales India. Commit it. So what will happen? This transaction will be captured by the extract process. You can verify the stats. Stats are shown since last restart. So these many stats are there. Same with data pump process. When you go to target side, if you check whether the data has been returned or not, you can do select star from dpt underscore copy 22. So we inserted 81 sales, right? So you see, as per the mapping, so current timestamp has been written. Similarly, in the same parameter file, if you see view param PREP, we are using the same column names between source and target by using use defaults. Then we are using source when we are mapping source to target columns, like dname one of target is getting mapped to dname of source, location one is getting mapped to location. Then we are using the hard coded value for phone number. Always 999 will be inserted. Then here we are using GoldenGate built-in function, like string concatenation is being used on the string and the column value. Then city column, we are using string up one function which converts all the letters, the case of that particular column to uppercase using string up. Then we are using at the rate date now function which insert the latest timestamp in process timestamp column. So you see 81 sales and the current the time when the record got inserted based on IST, Indian Standard Time, my country and everything. So when we inserted the record on source, you see delete underscore flag is updated as N. This is what is required, right? So what happens is when insert comes based on this first block, it applies the transaction. It reads the second block as well. But in the second block, it has we have ignore inserts. So in the as per the second block, this insert statement will be ignored. So you can check stats PAREP. If you check stats PAREP, you will see two separate blocks in statistics. For the first block, if you see, one insert has been applied. Replicating from DPT11 to DPT22, one insert has been applied. But for the second block, replicating from DPT11 to DPT underscore copy 22, one ignore is there because we are using ignore inserts. So both the blocks are red. Why? Because we are using allow dup target map. It read this block as well as this block. So based on first block, it was able to apply the transaction. Based on second block, we are using ignore insert, so the insert has been ignored. So this is the desired value we have got. So when insert comes, record will should be delete underscore flag on target should be N. Similarly, I'll do one update now. I'll do update in department number 80. So update DPT11 set location equal to Singapore. I'm inserting in small case where department number is equal to 80. Commit it. So now when you go to target side, once the record gets applied, so again what will happen based on the parameter file, this will be applying the update, But when it reads the second block, you will have ignore updates. So delete underscore flag should be applied as n. See, when insert comes, n is there. When update comes, it's n. Now I'll delete a record. I'll delete this record from source. So you can check the statistics again. So if you do stats PAREP, so you see one insert and one update for the first block is there. However, for the second block, it again is a ignore. Okay. Now we'll delete a record from source. Delete from DEPT11 where department number is equal to 81. So now delete underscore flag should convert to Y. View param PAREP. Oh, we didn't change it to Y. So it will still be N. You see in the parameter file, it should be Y. That is the requirement, right? But we didn't change. It is still N. So it will be applied, but it will be applied as N. 81N. You will see. Right. So let me update the parameter file. I'll again delete a record from source. Stop PAREP. Edit param PAREP. Y. So delete underscore flag should be Y. So the older PAREP when which we are stopping, it is still stopping. Like it takes few minutes or seconds due to like number of mappers and appliers being assigned. Okay, now it is stopped. Now you can go ahead and start PAREP. Now we'll do another transaction. I'll delete the record with department number 80. Is equal to 80. Commit it. So now what will happen is, if you look at the parameter file, as per this parameter file, first block it will be ignored. Ignore deletes will be there. Second block, what it will do is, it will get the deletes and convert the delete to update statement based on this. So the delete statement from source gets converted to update on target and delete underscore flag becomes Y. So now if we check the database, see delete underscore flag is Y. It means that this record no longer exists on source database. This record no longer exists on source database. Okay. So delete underscore flag Y means your record has been soft deleted from the target database. Physically it is present on target database, but logically it has been deleted, signifying that this record is no longer present on the source database. So if you check the statistics now of PAREP, see now again two blocks. If you see, first block will say two deletes are ignored. Uh, so see, one ignore is there because we restarted the process, right, to make the change. So since then, total ignores are one for the first block, and for the second block, one delete has been applied. Why it does that? Because we are using allow dup target map. So allow dup target map means duplicate target mapping will be supported in the parameter file. So basically you are using data manipulation. You are manipulating the data as per the business requirement in this particular scenario. Okay. Any question from anyone? Okay.
Ashish,
So
any
in the next session, we are going to discuss about, so next session is tomorrow, same timing. So in the next session, we are going to discuss about performance metric server, monitoring the lag, and heartbeat table. And if time permits, we'll also discuss about Golden Gate checkpoint. The next session is tomorrow, same timing, and it's on same link. So I'll be taking the question, but just if anyone wants to drop off, if I'll what we discussed in today's session is we discussed about the exercise which we discussed in the previous session. When a record is deleted from source, it should be deleted physically from the, it should not be deleted physically from the target. So we discussed about the usage of update deletes, allow dup target map, in ignore insert, ignore update, ignore deletes. We also discuss about parallel replicate, which is one of the new feature in Oracle GoldenGate 12c release 3. There are two types of parallel replicate: parallel integrated replicate and parallel non-integrated replicate. So we discuss about different parameters of parallel replicate, and also we discuss about how to upgrade, how to create a parallel replicate, how to upgrade your existing parallel replicate to parallel non-integrated or parallel integrated replicate. Okay, yeah. Uh, Someone had a question you can ask.
Ashish, this particular thing, like you are updating that flag, okay, delete, update deletes, um, means it is by that particular column name only we will be able to know that, okay, this has been updated.
No, I didn't understand. So what you mean?
Uh, Ashish, you have gone ahead for that particular get deletes and update deletes, right?
Right,
Yeah, so there is a column which defines that whether this thing is whether this particular thing is been there, but it has been flagged as deleted, right?
right.
It significance n for the for not to delete that thing on the source side.
Uh-huh.
So that particular thing will be there, will be defined in that particular column, or means we will be able to see that thing from that only column, that whether this delete has been updated.
So delete doesn't get updated. We are updating the deletes. So the logic
Yes,
basically
that's what.
is, the logic
Yeah.
basically is delete is getting updated on the target, right? So the record is getting
Yeah.
deleted. But on target side,
Okay.
if you see, the column value is getting updated from n to y or null to y, right? So
Okay.
basically
Right.
internally it is getting, this transaction is getting converted to update. So that's why we are using update
Okay.
deletes.
Okay.
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 Okay. There is a question from Anoop which says that if we are inserting a record on source with department 81, which we just deleted, we will get one more duplicate record on target with n. No, it will overwrite the existing record because we don't want, we have this primary key defined on department number. So if you have, it depends on the primary key. So in this scenario, because we have primary key, it will be, it will again become n in that case. There will be no duplication. Okay. Any other question from anyone? Guys, this is really very important and interesting topic, like what Golden Gate capabilities are and what Golden Gate can do, right? This parallel replicate or data manipulation or data selection, data filtration, these are the strength of Golden Gate, which tries to show you what are the capabilities, different capabilities of Golden Gate, apart from doing one-on-one replication, right? Okay, so
Yes.
if no more questions are there, let us wrap up our session for today. I hope guys you were able to follow the session. How was the session? Were you able to follow?
Yes, Ashish. It
Okay.
is
Slightly
good
confusing,
actually.
Ashish, but you know,
It is, this particular chapter is confusing little.